G'day folks, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. It's a lovely day, it's Sunday. It's been raining since about 6 o'clock this morning and it's now 2 o'clock. It's just cleared and got nice. And we've been out in the van this morning messing about. Been buying some bits and bobs, having a forage from my favourite surplus store, a few garden centres. I've been looking for some chain to continue the rattage. I managed to find some at long last, some proper steel, mild steel chain. This is two 6-foot lengths of chain, so I've got 12 feet of chain there, and I've got some ideas for the belly pan area under the front to kind of extend this engine cage using chain, welded chain, etc. More of that in a bit. Bought some more discs, found a good deal on these, £1 each, pretty good. These are 1.2mm cutting discs. Use so much of them, literally. All I've got at the moment is a couple of little nubs left. I've got some of them, and I managed to score these in the garden centre. They're just coming home, and Mrs. Delboy said, "Hey, what about the garden centre?" I said, "Yeah, it's all green. It's all for doing your plants and boring stuff like that." But nope, found these. Only packet in the place. 50 pack of cable ties. You're always using cable ties. £1.25. Good deal. So I've just been out having a forage this morning, really. Odds and ends. Got my chain, which is the most important thing. Got some wicked plans for that stuff. A couple of discs just for stock, and some cable ties. Right, so I'm going to get the welder out, and I'm going to have a little play with the chain, see if I can weld the links together and make a bar. Welded chain is a thing that 70's custom bikes used to have a lot of, or custom cars as well. And I want to kind of take this space underneath and sort of fill in from there under, to make a bit of a sort of belly pan type skeletal frame type thing. Don't know, it's going to develop as I make it, really. You know me, I just have a look at the bike, it's got a bit of a gap under there, looks quite smart. Just going to do something a bit different, really. And again, it's no seriousness, it's just a daft thing. There it is. So let's crack on, let's get the welder out. This painted chain is, I got the right thing, I think. There was this or chrome or zinc plated galvanized chain. Didn't think the galvanized would weld too well, so I got this painted stuff instead. It's a very, very thin coat of paint. I don't know how long it's going to last, whether I can blast through it with the welder or whether I'm going to have to strip the paint off it. I don't know. Going to have a little experiment, see what happens. All you welders out there probably saying, "Ha, should have got the zinc, monkey boy." But there we go, I didn't, I got this. And this was not bad. That bit there, that's a 6-foot length. Couldn't find something, just a quick one, don't make this point. Went to the dump, the local municipal tip, try and find some second-hand old chain. They're all recycling centres now, there's nothing like that available. It's all scrapped. So you cannot find old chain unless you sort of luckily happen across it. And you have to go and buy it. And I don't want it too heavy either. I mean, that with that is all going to end up on the bike. And that as it is, that weighs probably 5 kilos, 5-6 kilos together, and that's enough weight to put on. So any thicker would look cool, but pointless putting 20 kilos steel on the front of your bike for looks alone. It's no point. So going to try and see if I can have a little play with this, see if I can weld these links together in a straight line. A bit of an experiment first, and if I can, then it's onto the bike, see if I can make something of it. Okay, stick around, stay tuned, see how it goes. Alright, the first little task seems to have come out okay. The ask was, can I blast through this coating, this black coating? Because it won't be paint, it'll probably be some sort of powder coat of some kind, or some sort of electrostatic coating. Otherwise it would have all stuck together if it was liquid paint. Can I blast through it with the MIG? Well, the answer is, as you can see, yes. And that is strong. That ain't going anywhere. Truly welded. It's not a strength part, you know. That's one tack on the outside, just blasted through at sort of intermediate power, and it may be that on the inside, blung another little tack on the inside, and that's it welded. So it seems if we can. Smells funny. Trying to weld through paint. Smells pretty noxious, but I'm gonna keep going. Have a little play with this. I'm pretty sure I can do what I want. Probably not clear at this point what I've said because I can't really describe it, but once it gets underway you'll see what I'm doing. I think this is going to work because that is stuck. That is really beef. That ain't going anywhere. Proper stuck fast. Can't break that. Right, got the first blobbered welds on. I've welded that up to death, loads and loads of weld to make sure it's strong, because obviously if this goes falling off, you're going to run over it, and that's going to be a little bit detrimental to your to work. So that's proper beefy welded on. As the other, it will be ground back and painted. And I've just come across the other side, sort of symmetrically gone on the curve of the bottom of the crash bars. Obviously this welds the two crash bars together, but it doesn't matter, because if I need to take them off, I can just lop through a link, take them off. When I put back on, just buzz the link back together. It's not a problem. The idea is, once this one's welded on, which I'm going to do in a minute, then I can start welding it to a kind of V shape to start making a kind of belly pan structure ish, sort of. Don't know, it's going to develop as it goes. I don't even know what I want it to look like yet, but I know I want that on there. So that's all prepped. Push the paint back off it, and I'm just going to build loads of weld off around there, just make that nice and strong, so that that actual connection between the thing and the bike is beef, which is important. Okay, so let's get cracking. Let's weld that on, and then I can start welding these links in a straight line. Never ever done this before, seen it done. 70s custom cars, never know, might come out right. Let's see what happens. Fuego, señores, fuego. You can actually whack some power into this because it's all solid. That should be on there now. There you go. That's beef. Fireworks. That is strong. Okay, both sides are on now. And what I've done, just to pull it forward to its kind of proposed position, just use a bungee just to hold it forward. And now the game is to see if, without bearing the paint off these, whether I can nail a bead into each one of these just to hold it just enough. Once it's there, I can go on the back and then tack more on. Whether it will come out good, whether it will come out rubbish, I don't know. It's all experimental. So let's get cracking on this, see if I can pop some weld on a few of these. Certainly made a big old job of that. The idea is that that is real tough, ain't coming off no matter what you do, because I don't need the whole thing detaching from the bike. And if I ever have to get it off, I can just nick a link and then connect that one back on after. Piece of cake. So either way, let's get cracking, see if I can start tacking these links together. Well, the first few have gone pretty alright. You just have to kind of hold them still and then just get a nice sharp point on the end of the MIG wire, nice and sharp, and it pokes its way through and it tends to make the arc, and then just hold it there till it glows orange. It's not difficult, seems to work fine. I can weld on the untouched sides afterwards. This is going to be pretty strong. First three links seem to have gone alright. Just a case of blasting through this paint. I mean, it's not a strength part, it's only decorative, so it makes no difference if it's strong or not. If it fractures, just pile a load of weld on it, not a problem. But it seems to be working alright so far. Let's keep going. Well, that's them all just about welded. Kind of stiff but flexy, so I'm going to bring some straights back later on. But that's the first curvature. That's quite smart, really. Just come out as good as I expected, probably not quite as good. The links tend to move when the MIG wire comes out. They've got to hit against the link and then they've got to kind of bust through the paint before they can get an arc. So it's a bit of a messy, splattery, kind of violent process. It's not a neat weld at all. It ain't nice. You'd normally do this with mild steel chain and the chain would be prepared. But in this, hang on a sec. In this instance it's not prepared, it's just bare chain. It would have taken just hours to strip the paint off every single one. But it's there, it's welded. It's kind of tough. It's like a wire. It's as flexible as a solid piece of wire 5mm thick would be. So that's fine. So now I've got to design some way of going from the centre back out to the sides and make this kind of a little bit more than just one row. Okay, just taking 5 now. Let the welder cool down. Right, this is the next section. Just lob that on there with a shed load of weld. Yeehaw. That ain't going anywhere. That's now actually quite beefy, quite solid, because I've kind of tack welded down the back of them as well. And the second one is going to go there. Just going to run one from the top and run that one down. As you can see, oddly enough, welding this takes all the paint off it completely. So it is very, very thin, the paint that's on it, and I'm just blasting through it. So I've got that welded through. What I did with that there was cut that bottom welding link in half, feed it through, then weld it back together, and then bring one link up right to lift it off, and then come up there. So it's a bit of a laborious process, and it's ever so messy. As you can see from all the splatter on the floor, the paint's causing it to just pop and splatter and splash everywhere. It's quite messy, loads of little diddy burns, but it's working. It's looking a bit different, it's unique. And I'm just going to carry on now and zap my way all the way up this chain to the top and then start on the other side. So let's get cracking. There we are. That's the first bit, the first upper, and that's instantly starting to make it stiff now. Obviously it's acting as a brace, and that's just one side welded. Oops, gloves. Welded the back of all these ones, but these ones I'll have a job getting in here, so I'm just going to tack some extra little tacks in just to hold it, really, because obviously vibration, it's not a Harley, but even a Suzuki will vibrate to a certain degree. So I've got to get the other one in there and mounted while this cools off and while the welder cools down, and then I'm ready to put the last piece on. I can edit it later. That's it. That's got them stronger. Okay, everything's welded now. That's welded back and front and top, and it's a bit flexible, but it ain't going anywhere, and that's beefy enough to live. Right, now these ones, I've just tacked them on the side there, and the plan is, what I want to do is run those under there, but leave them as moving chain rather than weld them solid. So what I've got to do is chop a link out, and I just want to just pass this little tip on, as every one of Delboy's garages has got a little tip for you. I just want to show you this. This is just the simplest way of cutting a chain link. if you've got a decent pair of American vice grips or mole grips, they always come with a chain cutter. If you just look in there, they come with a bolt crop inside. So to cut this, all I want to do is run it right inside the jaws, screw it down onto the link, open it up, and this is so easy. It's much easier than faffing about with a saw. Just pop it in, open it, do it up, pop it in, open it, do it up, and those crops will go through that piece of chain until the tip's together. Any decent pair of mole grips, quality ones, has always got a bolt grip in it. And once the tips get together, you're through. It's a lot cleaner, and if you're going to weld it back together, you get a nice pointed cut which you can weld far easier than a butt joint. Right, the tip's together now, and what that's done is it's squeezed it right down, coming on close. It's squeezed it right down to about 1 mil thick. And that, if I cut the other side, which I'm not, I'm going to cut a piece out of this because I want to slot that in. That's it. So go beside that, and there you are. You made a little gap in the chain without any messing about with saws or discs. I mean, it's just as easy. You could lock a disc for it, it's not a problem. And you can just pinch on that just to open it up a little bit, or not. And that then gives me a gap in the chain, which I can take out the piece of the link that I don't need. Just need to open that a bit. And then I can slot that in to the job, and then just weld the gap up. Simples. Alright, got it out now. So what I need to do with that is run it over there and just work that onto the link. There it is. What I'm going to do now is go in the back, just weld that link up. I might just weld that a tiny bit further just to get this equidistant. You know me, OCD. It's got to be correct even if it's messy. And that's going to stay mobile. If it taps on there too much, then I can just tighten it up, or I can pop a couple of welds in there just to stop it moving. And if it doesn't work, I can always weld it later on. Right, so let's get that welded up and do the other side. And that is it. All done. Just for now. Right, I've just got to quickly grind these corners off, just mainly because they're all jaggedy, and I will walk into them and ladder my tights, and that wouldn't do. So I'm just going to take all these sharpy edges off. There's no point in grinding any of that. That's just as it is. But it is, as the old saying goes, beef. It's got some flexibility in it, but then if it was made of 5-6 mil bar or rod, it would be that flexible. And I've left these mobile and just hooked them on, welded the one link in. So there it is. Right, let's get a lapper, grind a bit of this off, time to paint it black. Don't forget, stick them in your eyeball then. Could possibly have it rusted now, could we? Just touching it. And you blend it seamlessly in with the whole package. There we go. That's it. Don't to worry too much about primer. Just whack it on. And here we are, all done. Nice coat of matte black. There it is. Kind of a bit Spider-Man, kind of a bit Monsters, kind of a bit daft as well, really. There it is. Grind off there. Nice little bit of smoothness. And the mat's not going matte again either. I think that's 2 batches of bad paint. They're all satin and shiny. But there we are, don't mind. That's cool. I'm going to run some chain from the underneath point here further out and join it onto some frame lugs. I've got to put some frame lugs in, perhaps design something to go into the engine mount there and protrude down, and then I can come across and build a bit more into it. But for today we've run out of daylight. It's started this at 2 as you saw. It's now 7 o'clock. 5 hours of this faffing around just to do that. That's how long it takes to do these soppy jobs. It's a bit of fun, like I've said it loads of times. It's just a rat bike. It's just a cheap old banger, and this sort of thing's a bit daft. It's a bit fun. It's not finished yet. It will look better once it's got the bottom pieces in. It will look more complete, but for now it's okay. It's tough enough. Ain't going anywhere. Mate Sal, if you tune up, bored of it all, Sally asked me to do a grab rail out of chain, and I just wasn't confident because it's not strong enough for a grab rail. It's strong enough for this because this is decorative, but as you can see it moves around. It is not strong enough for a grab rail. Grab rails have got to be beef enough to pick the bike up with a winch. But as a decorative piece they look stupid and fun. It's just a bit of fun. There it is. A little bit of a skeletal belly pan type affair. It will grow, it will get more silly, the daftness will continue. So that was it for today. 5 hours of fun. Good way to waste a boring wet Sunday. Thanks for tuning in and watching Delboy's Garage. I'll see you next time.